There are moments when life becomes strangely quiet, almost as if everything around you pauses for a second so something important can be felt. Last night was one of those moments. Something happened that you may never have expected. Somewhere, in a conversation you were not part of, your name, or the thought of you, became connected to a feeling that was much deeper than ordinary curiosity. Your soulmate became emotional when the subject of your age came up, and what they said next may surprise you. They did not speak about your age as a number, they spoke about everything that number represents. They thought about the years you have lived, the things you have experienced, the moments that changed you, the lessons you had to learn, and the parts of yourself you had to protect along the way. They realize that behind the person they are drawn to is someone with a story they may not completely understand yet, and for a moment, that realization touched them deeply. They told their friends something that revealed more than they probably intended to reveal. They said that your age made them think about how much life you have already experienced, and how much more life may still be waiting for you. They wondered about the person you were years ago, what made you smile, what broke your heart. What dreams did you have before life became complicated? What did you believe about love before you learned that love could be confusing? What moments made you stronger? What moments made you softer? They wondered how many versions of you existed before the person they know today, and perhaps most importantly, they wondered whether they had met you at the exact moment they were supposed to. That thought stayed with them. They told their friend, "I keep thinking about how much I wish I could have known them earlier." But then they stopped, because another thought came. Maybe earlier would not have been right. Maybe you needed every experience you had. Maybe they needed every experience they had. Maybe both of you had to grow separately before you could recognize something meaningful in each other. That is why the subject of your age affected them more than they expected. They began to understand that you are not simply the age you are today. You are every year you have survived. You are every lesson you learned. You are every mistake you made and every time you chose to try again. You are every dream you almost abandoned but somehow kept alive. You are every difficult season that taught you something about yourself. You are every version of yourself that eventually led you here. And suddenly, your age became beautiful to them, not because of the number itself, but because of what it represents. They told their friend that there was something about you they could not easily explain. They said that talking about you made them feel different, not necessarily excited, not simply curious, different, as though something inside them became quieter, as though they could imagine sitting beside you without needing to fill every silence, as though they could tell you things they normally keep hidden, as though they could be themselves without constantly wondering whether they were being judged. Their friend noticed the change in their voice. "You really care about this person, don't you?" And they did not answer immediately. Sometimes silence says what words are too afraid to admit. After a moment, they simply said, "I think I do." Then they looked away. Because admitting that something matters can be frightening, especially when you do not know where it will lead. Maybe they have been trying to convince themselves that this connection is just a coincidence. Maybe they have told themselves that they are imagining the intensity. Maybe they have tried to keep their feelings under control because they are afraid of becoming vulnerable. But last night, something slipped through the cracks. They allowed themselves to acknowledge that you matter, and once they admitted it, another truth followed. They are curious about your story. They want to know what shaped you. They want to understand the things you rarely talk about. They want to know what makes you feel safe. They want to know what makes you laugh when you are completely comfortable. They want to know what you dream about when nobody is watching. They want to know what kind of future would make you genuinely happy, not the future other people expect from you, your future, the one that belongs to you. That is what surprised them most. They realized that their interest in you was not only about attraction, it was about understanding. It was about wanting to know the person beneath the surface. They told their friend, "There is so much I don't know about them." Then they smiled, "And I actually want to know." That sentence may sound simple, but sometimes the simplest words carry the greatest meaning. Because when someone genuinely wants to know you, they are not interested only in the polished version of you. They become curious about the real you, the tired you, the uncertain you, the hopeful you, the ambitious you, the quiet you, the version of you that sometimes needs reassurance, the version of you that sometimes needs space, the version of you that has learned to keep certain feelings private. Your soulmate may not know every chapter of your story yet, but something about you has made them want to read the pages, slowly, honestly, without rushing, and that is why last night mattered, not because some magical event suddenly changed everything, but because someone who has been thinking about you allowed themselves to recognize what they were feeling. They realized that your age is not something they need to measure you by. It is part of your journey, and your journey is part of what makes you uniquely you. Perhaps you have sometimes wondered whether you are too young or too old for certain dreams. Perhaps you have compared your timeline with someone else's. Perhaps you have looked around and wondered why other people seem to have figured everything out while you are still discovering yourself. But this message is a reminder of something important. You do not have to live according to somebody else's clock. Your life is not late. Your story is not behind. You are not missing your moment. You are living your moment. And the right people will not reduce you to a number. They will notice the person behind it. They will notice your character, your kindness, your humor, your resilience, your curiosity, your ability to care, your ability to keep going, your ability to become wiser without becoming completely closed off. That is what your soulmate was thinking about. They were not simply thinking, "How old are they?" They were thinking, "Who did they have to become to reach this point?" That question changed the entire conversation. Their friend apparently sensed that something deeper was happening. "You seem emotional," the friend said, and your soulmate laughed softly, perhaps trying to hide it. "I don't know why." But they did know why, because sometimes when we realize that someone matters to us, we suddenly become aware of how precious time really is. We think about all the moments that have already passed. We think about the years we cannot get back. We think about the conversations we have not yet had, the memories that do not exist yet, the places we have not visited, the jokes we have not shared. The ordinary evenings that might one day become some of our favorite memories, and that thought can make a person emotional. they began wondering about your future. Where will you be 5 years from now? What will you be doing? What will you have accomplished? What will you have learned? What will you have become? And strangely enough, they wondered whether they might still be somewhere in your story. That thought frightened them, but it also made them smile, because there is something powerful about realizing that someone has become important enough for you to imagine tomorrow with them. Not a fantasy, not a perfect movie scene, just tomorrow, a conversation, a walk, a shared laugh. A difficult day where both people choose patience, a good day where both people celebrate, a relationship built from small moments instead of dramatic promises. Maybe that is what they secretly want, something real, something steady, something that does not need to be constantly proven. Something where two people can grow without losing themselves. They told their friend that your age made them think about timing, not whether the number was right or wrong, but whether life had finally brought two people together when they were ready to understand what they were feeling. They said something like, maybe we had to become who we are before we could meet each other properly. And that thought stayed in the room, because sometimes timing is mysterious. You can meet someone too early. You can meet someone when neither person knows how to communicate. You can meet someone when both people are carrying unresolved lessons. You can meet someone when your lives are moving in completely different directions. And sometimes, you meet someone when you have finally learned enough to recognize what you once would have overlooked. Maybe that is what is happening here. Maybe the connection feels different because you are different. You are not the person you were years ago. Neither are they. You have grown. They have grown. And growth changes what we notice. It changes what we value. It changes what we are willing to accept. It changes what we understand as love. When you are younger, love can sometimes seem like intensity. Later, you may realize that love can also be patience, respect, consistency, honesty, listening, boundaries, kindness, choosing each other without trying to control each other. Your soulmate was thinking about that. They realized they do not want to know only the exciting parts of you. They want to understand the whole person. They want to know what you need when life becomes difficult. They want to know how to support you without taking away your independence. They want to know how to make you feel appreciated without making you feel trapped. They want to know how to disagree without turning disagreement into disrespect. They want to know how to build something where both people still get to be themselves. And maybe that is why they became emotional. Because real connection is not always loud. Sometimes it arrives quietly. Sometimes it looks like someone remembering a small detail you mentioned weeks ago. Sometimes it looks like someone noticing when your mood changes. Sometimes it looks like someone asking, "Are you okay?" and genuinely waiting for the answer. Sometimes it looks like someone being proud of you without needing anything in return. Sometimes it looks like someone seeing your age and thinking not about how much time has passed, but about how much life is still ahead. They told their friend that they hope you understand something. They hope you know that you do not need to apologize for your age. You do not need to prove that you are mature enough. You do not need to act younger to be accepted. You do not need to act older to be respected. You simply need to be yourself. The right connection will make room for who you genuinely are. It will not require you to become someone else just to earn affection, and that is one of the strongest things your soulmate realized last night. They do not want a version of you that has been edited to fit their expectations. They want to meet the real person, the person behind the smile, the person behind the confidence. The person behind the moments when you say you are fine even when you are still figuring things out. They want to understand you, but there is another part of this message you need to hear. Your soulmate's feelings do not determine your worth. You are valuable whether someone recognizes it immediately or not. You are worthy whether someone is thinking about you tonight or not. You are worthy regardless of your age, relationship status, or whether someone has chosen you yet. That matters, because a soulmate connection should never become a reason to abandon yourself. If someone is meant to be part of your life, their presence should add respect and kindness, not pressure. It should not make you feel like you have to chase them. It should not make you feel like you have to prove yourself. It should not make you feel anxious about whether you are enough. A healthy connection allows two people to meet each other with honesty. That is what makes this story meaningful. The emotional part is not that someone supposedly said a perfect sentence about you. The emotional part is the idea that someone looked beyond a number and saw a human being, someone with a history, someone with hopes, someone still becoming, and perhaps you needed to hear that today, because maybe you have been too hard on yourself, maybe you have been looking at your life and focusing on what has not happened yet, maybe you have been counting years instead of counting lessons. Maybe you have been measuring your life against somebody else's timeline. Stop for a moment. Look at everything you have already survived. Look at everything you have learned. Look at how much you have changed. Look at the things you once thought you could never handle but somehow did. You are still here, still learning, still becoming, still capable of being surprised by life. That is beautiful. Your age does not tell the entire story. Your past does not dictate your entire future, and one difficult season does not become your whole identity. There are still chapters you have not read. There are still people you have not met. There are still places you have not seen. There are still dreams you may not even know you have yet. There are still ordinary days ahead. That could become unforgettable, and somewhere in that future, perhaps you will meet someone who looks at you and understands what your soulmate's friend understood last night. You are more than a number. You are a story. And stories deserve to be understood before they are judged. Maybe that is why the conversation continued for so long. Your soulmate started remembering small details about you. The way you speak, the way you react when you are surprised, the things you seem passionate about, the moments when you become quiet, the way you talk about your dreams. They realized they had been paying more attention than they thought. Their friend asked, "So what are you going to do?" That question made everything quiet again, because feelings are one thing, actions are another. It is easy to think about someone. It is easy to imagine possibilities. It is easy to tell a friend that you care. But if the connection is real, eventually there must be honesty, there must be communication, there must be respect, there must be appropriate boundaries, there must be patience. Your soulmate may be realizing that. Maybe they understand that if they want to know you, they cannot simply build a story about you in their head. They have to actually talk to you. they have to listen. They have to respect your comfort level. They have to allow you to decide what you want, because genuine affection does not remove another person's freedom, it honors it, and that is an important lesson hidden inside this message. You do not have to wait around for someone to choose you. You get to choose too. You get to ask yourself, do I feel respected? Do I feel safe? Can I be honest? Can I say no? Can I have my own friends, interests, and goals? Does this person support my growth? Do they respect my boundaries? Do their actions match their words? Those questions matter more than any dramatic sign, because the most meaningful soulmate story is not the one with the biggest promises. It is the one where both people consistently treat each other well. So if someone from your past, present, or future is thinking about you, let them think. You do not need to force the outcome. You do not need to decode every coincidence. You do not need to chase every sign. Let real life reveal what is real. If they care, they can communicate. If they respect you, they can show it. If they want to be part of your life, they can make space for honest conversation. And if they cannot do those things, you still remain whole. That is the power you should remember. Your life does not begin when someone falls in love with you. Your life is already happening. Love should join your life, not replace it. Perhaps that is exactly what your soulmate was trying to understand last night. They were not only thinking about your age, they were thinking about time, and time reminded them that every person deserves to be appreciated while they are here, not someday. Not after they become more successful, not after they change their appearance, not after they become more confident. Now, you deserve kindness now, you deserve respect now, you deserve to be heard now, you deserve relationships that make you feel valued now. You do not need to become a future version of yourself to deserve good things. Your future self will continue growing, but your present self deserves compassion too. Your soulmate's emotional reaction may have been a reflection of that realization. They looked at the idea of your age and suddenly saw a lifetime of moments. They wondered how many times you had laughed when nobody else knew why, how many times you had started over, how many times you had changed your mind, how many dreams had evolved, how many people had influenced you, how many experiences had made you who you are, and they realized they cannot understand you by knowing only your age. They have to know your heart, not in a mystical, perfect way, in a human way, by listening, by asking, by giving you room to speak, by letting trust develop naturally. That is how real connections become strong, not through pressure, not through obsession, not through pretending, through time, through mutual respect, through honesty, through shared experiences, and perhaps, if your paths continue crossing, there will come a day when you look back at this period and realize that something important was happening, not necessarily because a mysterious message predicted your future, but because you were learning what kind of connection you actually wanted. You were learning to value yourself. You were learning not to settle for confusing behavior. You were learning that attraction alone is not enough. You were learning that someone can be fascinated by you and still need to prove that they can treat you well. You were learning that your boundaries matter. Your dreams matter. Your comfort matters. Your future matters. And your age does not reduce any of those things. So when you think about the title of this message, your soulmate got emotional about your age last night, remember the deeper meaning. The most beautiful part is not that someone became emotional. It is that the thought of your life made them pause. It made them recognize that every year carries a story. It made them wonder about the person you have become. It made them realize that connection is not about finding someone who fits a fantasy. It is about meeting a real person, a person who has history, a person who has imperfections, a person who is still growing, a person who deserves to be treated with dignity. Maybe they told their friend, "I don't want to rush this." That sentence could be more meaningful than any dramatic confession, because rushing can make people mistake intensity for connection. Patience gives people room to discover what is actually there. Maybe your soulmate is learning that. Maybe you are learning it too. There is no need to force a label onto something before it has had time to become clear.